Hey everybody. This episode, Joe and I experienced some connection issues, and I tried to sort of edit around that as best as I could, so there's not that many parts where it affects the final version of the recording. But yeah, you might hear more noise and stuff like that than usual. Also, this episode, due to the subject matter that comes up in the movie, you're going to hear some references to sexual assault and the R word, maybe. But it doesn't get too graphic, so I don't think anybody's going to get upset about it. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Please Like What I Like, a podcast where we try to convince each other to like the movies that we love. I'm Joe Gladding, and with me today is Michael Gladding, and today we are going to be discussing his pick, Richard Linklater's 2001 film, Tape.
I like to think that I do not ask for much. You don't have to sit with me, look at me, we don't have to touch. You don't have to go for a ride on the back of my bike. Please like what I like. Alright, I'm Mike. If I may, I want to set the scene a bit. Tape was made in a post-Bill Clinton, pre-9/11 world, which is a very small window in the history of the United States. I want to talk about people just like a degree of separation away from Bill Clinton, so that's why I'm bringing him up.
All right.
In 1998, Monica Lewinsky closed her grand jury interrogation with the Parthian shot of "I hate Linda Tripp." You probably don't remember the name Linda Tripp or why Lewinsky had reasons to hate her, but Linda Tripp was Monica Lewinsky's former friend and coworker, and she recorded some telephone conversations between Lewinsky and herself in which the relationship between Lewinsky and the president became one of the main topics for discussion. And she handed these tapes over to Ken Starr, whose name probably sounds more familiar if you remember this time.
Mm-hmm.
She handed them over in exchange for immunity from prosecution herself, since recording someone's private conversations without explicit consent is illegal, which means that she didn't do the recording for immunity. She handed the tapes over for immunity. She also tipped Starr off about the infamous stained blue dress, but that's neither here nor there. I wanted to bring up the Tape because we're talking about Tape. We're not talking about dress.
Mm-hmm.
Tape was originally a one-act play by Stephen Belber. I don't know anything about him, to be honest. I just think he was a big fan of Kurosawa's Rashomon and was like, what if I simplified that concept even further? And I'll bet that's how he approached Tape. But I'd like to think he would have wrote it during this time where the idea of someone you think is your friend taping your conversation and ruining your life is something that was actually in the public consciousness.
In the zeitgeist.
Yeah. So, like, he has the disagreeing characters already know each other. Two of them are the alleged perp and victim, and the other one has been aware of the incident and has had it eating at him for years before we even start. So the whole movie's just about their argument. You take that concept, you flesh it out with the current events in the back of your mind, and out comes Tape. And I think in his attempt to simplify the idea, the argument remains irreconcilable, and the shared past just adds emotional complication to everything. So we don't actually end up with a more simple story, and that's what makes Tape so interesting. Probably watched it a half dozen times now.
Oh, well.
And every time I can't help but give it my full attention, like while getting ready for this. I sometimes put it on to remind myself of a certain point for my notes, and I just end up watching it again. I'm really impressed how this movie manages to make three people's conversation in real time sitting around a motel room so compelling to me. So that's why I picked Tape. How'd you like Tape, Joe?
Yeah, I definitely found it magnetic. Like you said, it really does demand your attention. It's kind of for three people, or for the most part, two people, because Uma Thurman doesn't come in until pretty much like 75%
Yeah.
of the way through the movie. But like for just a few people having a conversation in a small room, it's got very kinetic editing and
Mhm.
a very active camera. Kind of like there are times where it's on a tripod, but
Yeah.
times where it's handheld and swinging around, and it kind of floats and hovers, and it gets in people's faces, and it really like makes you kind of feel like you're watching something you're not supposed to, or like
A lot of movie versions of plays, sometimes you feel like the cinematographer or the director or whoever's in charge of the camera is just filming it like a play, and you wonder like why this had to be a movie. But tape, he's really getting in there and moving around, and he really earns his director credit. They earn making this into a movie.
Yeah, I feel like it is at least partially inspired by R.W. Fassbinder's
Mm.
The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, in that it's a chamber piece where the camera refuses to
Yeah,
be a fly on the wall, and it avoids the whole filming a stage play look.
that's a great movie too. If anyone's listening and hasn't seen it, if you liked this concept.
It'll probably be my pick once we've gotten past all the movies that I know you
Okay.
haven't seen that I like. Then I'm probably going to pick that one because it's one of my favorites of all time. I just know that you've seen it.
Yeah, well, I think we established we might do movies that the other person's seen once in a while. Like we started with Princess and the Frog.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm just waiting to
Hmm.
dig through some other ones first.
It's just more exciting to feel like you're introducing the other person to something.
Yeah. I like how the movie kind of started off with like a It's Always Sunny in Lansing, Michigan feel of Ethan Hawke just chugging beer and doing
Yeah,
push-ups. It felt like it could be a cold open to It's
that's
Always
true.
Sunny. Like Mac waiting for Charlie to show up so he can
Mm,
record a confession also
yeah.
feels like
Like
something that would happen
he's
in It's
just
Always
hanging
Sunny.
out, but he's also setting up the scene to give John the wrong impression. Like he gets our attention by making us wonder why he's pouring beers down the drain.
He wants him to feel like he was just like a drunk
Yeah,
and helpless
wants to get his
guy.
guard down and saying this guy's just a mess. And like we see him like actually get undressed,
Hmm.
even though John's about to show up and say, "Are you ready to go out?"
Yeah, getting less ready.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought like all the performances were great, and I had never, at least I don't think I've seen Robert Sean Leonard, the guy who played John, in many things.
Yeah, I just know
I
from
looked into it.
House.
I guess he was mostly a Broadway, like theater guy, it seems like.
I think so. I saw an interview with the three actors and Linklater, and I think John, the guy who plays John, Robert Sean Leonard,
Hmm.
said he prefers stage acting, so he usually goes for those jobs.
Yeah, he was great, and he was the only one I hadn't expected to be great based on knowing their work already. So three really great performances, and they really carried this movie really well. Like I could not,
Yeah.
you can't look away. It really begs for your attention.
Yeah, that opening scene, like it kind of grabs your attention by making us wonder why he's doing these things, but it
Hmm.
also kind of tries to push us into thinking events like that he's kind of like a physical guy, whereas John shows up and starts sounding more like a bookish guy, a geek counterpart to Vince's jock personality,
Hmm.
he's doing push-ups and whatnot. And specifically, like, not standard push-ups, but like an angled down push-up.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah. I think
know.
yeah, he's trying to get his sweat up,
Yeah,
trying to look sweaty,
yeah.
flush.
But it also, like, I'll just make a few kind of personality assumptions right off the bat.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think big theme is, like, people kind of assume that they're good people and, often don't their actions very objectively, you know. Future Mike here in editing mode. It sounds like we got a little interference there and some words got dropped. So, what I was trying to say was that a theme of this movie is that people not only assume things about each other, but they assume themselves to be good people to the point that they don't reflect on what they're doing very heavily. Because, like, Vince thinks he's doing the right thing by getting John to apologize for his past action,
Hmm.
but he's betraying a friend. And John, acts like he's a morally superior person to Vince the whole play. But, he's kind of a dick,
Hmm.
like, in the way he starts off when Vince says that he just broke up with his girlfriend. He just instantly jumps to the girlfriend's side, even though he has no idea what the situation was like.
Yeah, he didn't hear anything about the relationship, just the fact that they broke up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Vince must be the problem here.
He's not nice to the guy he says is his old friend. But yeah, and also he carries some guilt for the incident in the past. That's the main subject of the play. But yeah, so people like to think they're the good guy in their own story, but often don't fully atone for the bad things we've done because we assume we're the good guy, you know.
Yeah, but also a lot of people who think they're the good guy of their own story also consider themselves like the main character of that story, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody else is just kind of like set dressing.
Yeah. Yeah, it does the play does a good job of giving us an idea of what's wrong in this relationship between John and Vince right from the jump, you know. Like they say that they're friends, but everything we find out in the first like act. I guess it's one act play, so then the first like
Yeah, and like from the way that they kind of greet each other and start the conversation, you assume that they're kind of like great friends who lost touch. But the
mm,
longer it went on, the more it seemed like, we all have those friends who like we were pretty good friends with in high school. Like we knew enough to talk outside of school if we'd see each other at parties. But
mm,
like you usually keep in touch with people who are closer friends, and if you hadn't talked to them in 10 years, you're probably not that great of friends with them.
yeah. There's the whole thing about Vincent's job. Like it's kind of he says that he's a fireman to everybody. But we find out along the way. It seems to be a touchy subject with Vince what he does for money because he tells everybody he's a fireman, but they seem to know from the fact that most firemen are volunteers that or they know that that's code for something. They seem to know that he's still a drug dealer, which I guess he was already in high school when they knew him.
Yeah, and
And like John kind of attacks him for that. He tells him he has no scruples or ambition, and I think that's based on his lifestyle.
mhm.
And
I
like,
mean, he's from Oakland, though, which is a
mm,
major city, and
mm.
mostly major cities do have paid
Oh yeah,
firefighters. So I think that's why he's trying to get away with just saying he's a firefighter. But I think he
oh
does confirm that he's a volunteer firefighter.
okay,
But like, if you're just like, oh, I'm a firefighter in Oakland, most people will just assume that you get paid. But you can also be a volunteer firefighter in a
yeah.
city. But
I
there,
wonder
it's
why they
also a
know.
paid.
I wonder why they know when he says that he's still dealing drugs. Maybe it's just what he used to tell people in high school too.
Yeah.
But like, it's another like weird discrepancy between the way they talk about themselves and the way they act.
Hmm.
Should we talk about when Amy shows up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amy,
Okay.
played by the great Uma Thurman. She's
Yeah.
awesome in this.
Yeah. It's easy to root for her in this movie. Like, you kind of off the bat end up not liking Vincent and John very much by the time she shows up. And
Yeah, they both have like personalities that like I don't know why Amy was friends with them to begin with.
yeah. Well, like I could
But then
see,
again, high school
like,
you just kind of like
yeah.
latch on to people with similar interests.
Yeah, and like you're kind of stuck with the people that you're thrown together with in high school, you know? You
Yeah.
can't really get out of
Hmm.
that bubble very easy. So like I could see Vincent being like the fun guy and John being like the guy who might go somewhere.
Hmm.
Makes sense why she would spend more time with Vincent and like have more dreams about the future with John because like she sees him having dreams of being a filmmaker and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's someone you can party with and someone you can have a deep conversation with.
Exactly. So yeah, it makes sense. And like, you know, it's like Vincent and John are kind of like in earth tones and kind of mesh with the walls of the hotel room with all its brown,
Hmm.
and it makes for a very like dull colored movie. And then when Amy arrives, she's like got a bright blue shirt and light blonde hair and lipstick and stuff. She kind of brightens up the room. And you can
Yeah, like it almost looks like she's coming out of a different movie. Like she looks even more
yeah
saturated than they do.
yeah, and you can it's kind of like a visual hint at to why they'd be obsessed with her all this time, you know?
Hmm.
Like visually, she's the sun coming out in this play.
Yeah, I can see that.
And like, she misses most of the argument, but I guess since she says she has a day job in the prosecutor's office, she's kind of used to arguments, and she
Hmm.
kind of quickly gets the edge in the conversation. And just like the way she kind of holds her own and refuses to be painted as the victim that Vincent wants her to fill the role of,
Yeah,
she becomes very easy to root for.
yeah, she's like too smart to be part of like the like to play the pawn role between Vince and John. Like Vince kind of wants just to feel morally superior to John. He doesn't really care about Amy, and I feel like
Yeah.
John just wants to be absolved of a past perceived sin and doesn't want to really help anything for Amy. Like neither of them wants
Mm.
anything good for Amy.
Yeah.
She was just invited because they want to feel good about themselves.
Yeah, because they've had this incident kind of in the back of their minds all this time, but it's kind of grown into something that isn't even part of how she thinks of her life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. The first time you watched it, when she made her phone call, did you think she was actually calling the cops and they were going to show up?
Kinda.
Mm.
I don't know. I didn't really anticipate anything. I kind of just like the movie kind of took me on a ride, and I didn't have many
Mm.
like, oh, I think this is gonna happen, or oh, I
Uh,
think this is gonna happen. I was just kind of like enthralled by
yeah.
the craft. I think it just kind of took me for a ride, and I didn't care where I was going. I just trusted the
Okay.
movie to take me there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, passive viewing.
Yeah, I got real.
Yeah.
I got real into it. I didn't take notes until the second time because I was
Mm.
kind of just the movie did just kind of have me on a ride.
I'll admit, the first time I thought the cops were going to show up.
I would have made it way less of a like chamber piece if they had to
Yeah, that's true. You
like get arrested and.
suddenly have new actors come in. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I can share a couple fun facts, I think.
Let's do it.
They originally gave it a go trying to shoot this in an actual motel room. They went to one in, I think, Jersey, but I don't remember where in Jersey they said.
Mhm.
But yeah, they did like pre-production practice runs in a motel in Jersey, but Linklater was really getting annoyed with how hard it was to position himself to get a good shot in the small motel room.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so they built a set, and so this whole motel room's a set.
That's pretty good. It
Yeah,
looks good for one.
but it still kept the costs of the movie very low. Very very inexpensively made movie.
Oh, for sure.
Shot on consumer grade camcorders, and that's part of why I think in the previous episode I said you don't have to worry too much about whether it's in like 1080p or not,
Hmm.
because I'll bet the image itself is only like 720 at best.
Yeah, like it could be recorded on 1080, but with a small sensor,
Mm,
so the actual resolution is low.
yeah, I was studying up on Django's gun before this, so my brain is less less focused on tape and more focused on the gun in Django.
But I was gonna say, like, for like the style, I kind of admire when a movie wears its limitations on its sleeve instead of
Mm,
trying to hide a small budget, like coming right
yeah.
out the gate and saving, a couple $1,000s on
Hmm.
the recording equipment is way preferable to like trying to save a couple $100s on an actor.
Mm,
And like when it's right out in the open
yeah.
and like it kind of looks the way it looks, it invites you to ignore it after a while.
Mm,
Whereas like any problems you tried to hide when they pop up are glaring and obvious.
yeah. Yeah. Like in comedy, they call it hanging a lamp on it. That might be in like just behind the scenes talk and anything.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you have something that's like a sign of cut corners in your production, if you try to hide it, it might make it more of a glaring problem. Whereas if you kind of just make it something that you lived with, so the audience can live with, it kind of becomes easier to just move past it. Hanging a lantern on it.
Yeah, it like it whispers throughout the movie instead of occasionally singing.
The part where Amy comes in and the door is open, I paused to see if you could see like the inside of like a studio. What's it called? A loft or the place where they build the
Soundstage.
sets, soundstage. But you do see her car, so I guess they
They thought of
have room. Yeah,
everything.
they exactly. Oh, yeah. Up, up, up.
Yeah, like those sound stages are like really big sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Like
A
in
lot of the rides in Universal Studios Hollywood are just built inside of old sound stages. Like
oh yeah.
Mummy is a whole roller coaster, and it's just inside of an old soundstage.
Wow. Yeah, in Inland Empire, when they get to the soundstage and like most things aren't set up yet, it really gives you an idea of how huge those
cavernous.
things are. Yeah, like they're sitting in a chair and like against one wall, but just kind of equidistant from the other two. And like when the lights are only on them, you can't see any of the other walls.
Have you seen The Rehearsal, the Nathan Fielder show he made after Nathan For You?
No, I've
No.
only seen like bits and pieces of Nathan For You.
At one point, he builds like an entire bar, like the outside and inside, instead of a soundstage.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, they just had to like neglect a corner of the roof to make room for a vent, but otherwise it fit within the soundstage.
Cool. So yeah, big set.
Big set.
Did the play remind you of Rashomon too, or is that just me?
I bet it had like a little bit of Rashomon in it.
Yeah.
Like I got it a little bit, but I didn't get that it was like inspired directly by Rashomon or
I don't
anything.
have like a recording of the writer saying that or
Oh
anything.
yeah,
That's my
it's
projection.
just something you saw in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't the fact
Hmm.
of whether or not he did rape Amy is almost entirely inconsequential to the story, whereas in Rashomon it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
Like
point. When
that,
you make it
the
more,
past doesn't really matter in this play.
yeah,
It's just the character's current kind of conversation matter.
that's a good point. It like it's a what's it called? A Hitchcockian MacGuffin.
Yeah,
Yeah, it drives the. Sorry, I'm sorry if you can hear the cat eating.
it's all right. I
She's
like cats.
okay. Yeah, it's your dinner time. Yeah, the idea that the incident in the past doesn't end up mattering didn't really like drive home in my brain till just now.
Yeah, like you know, forgiving. Like we don't exactly know what happened, especially in Amy's mind, because she
Uh-huh.
doesn't offer us what happened in her mind.
Yeah.
But like she had kind of put that part of her life behind her, and
Hmm.
uh, being apologized to by John does nothing for her, and forgiving him would do nothing for her.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't matter. She just never tells us what happened.
Hmm.
Because when she sees John, her mood isn't like, oh, this is a person I was hoping to see. And like she kind of has like a second of kind of bad surprise on her face, it looks
Mm.
like. Not like shock or like face drops. Is that something I saw, or is that something I imagined
No,
just based on.
I think that's how I remember it.
Okay.
And like she finally seems warm to him when she's like sat down and like admitting that she loved him back in the day.
Hmm.
You know, that's when she finally seems like warm towards John. But like at first she was only expecting to see Vince there, and she doesn't look happy to see that John is here by surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that like kind of spurs Vincent on, kind of reinforces the way he thinks of the situation.
Yeah, and I think he does probably have the truth on his side in this instance.
Mm.
It's just he's not with the truth trying to do something righteous or anything besides make himself feel good about the way he lived his life.
Mm.
Because he could be like, well, I might be a fuck up, but at least I'm not that guy.
Yeah, he just wants to feel superior to his friend that keeps, acting like he's superior to him.
Yeah, people in this movie suck.
They don't give us much information about his movie. That seems to be like what he wants to be the subject of the night. It's like celebrating his movie, and
Mm-hmm.
Vincent doesn't want to talk about that. Like the first time you saw it, again, like even though the thing is called Tape, the first time I watched it, I hadn't like read any synopses or anything. So like
Yeah.
when Vincent starts just like has that I got it moment, and he's like gets super happy and takes out the tape recorder in front of John. It
Mm-hmm.
was a really like shocking moment for me, even though it kind of
Yeah, yeah. I thought the tape was what I was watching,
mm,
and I even though I knew it was filmed with what like a DVX camera or
yeah,
whatever, I thought like in my mind I was just like, well, I'm watching the tape. I don't know.
yeah.
Like
It was
when
the
it
late
happened, I was like,
'90s,
oh, wait a
so
minute.
yeah,
Wait a minute. Why is this friend surreptitiously recording?
yeah, yeah. And like John's look of shock is like so real.
Yeah.
Like he looks amazed and disgusted.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's great. Vincent's ready to do like a little victory dance. The like inscrutable pleasure-seeking part of my brain that I can't quiet down all the time
Mhm.
definitely got a little upset when all the drugs went down the toilet. I gotta admit.
Yeah? We're
Yeah.
like, oh, no, they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
They were just hanging out with their friends and they got flushed.
Well, I didn't like anthropomorphize them, but
Oh, my bad. I
no,
misunderstood.
no, that's okay. I liked hearing that. That's, that's some good acting on your part.
Yeah, I've never tried cocaine myself, but I am a big fan of marijuana, and I would hate to see a bunch of marijuana get flushed down the toilet.
Yeah, that's a bunch of potential good times that just went away.
Yeah, that's what I would use before I watched this very film.
It kind of puts Vincent in a situation where he's like the only one that has tangible punishment at the end of the story, because John like gets scared that he's gonna go to jail for a little while, but ends up, feeling better about everything by the end.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Vince is like the
it's the instigator. Yeah.
instigator of this whole. We both chose
So,
the same word, which I wasn't sure was a good word for it. Um, of this whole shebang, and he
yeah,
he did not do it with like good intentions.
that's true.
Like
He's the
he is the only one who thinks of himself as the hero of this story. Like,
yeah.
however noble it would have been, I don't know, if she wanted it, if she wanted some sort of rehashing of the past, but it's not something she asked for. So he's just kind of being an asshole to someone else.
Do you have much history with Linklater's work?
I do. I'm a huge Linklater
Yeah.
fan, but I have this had kind of slid under my radar,
Mm.
along with a few others. I haven't gone through his filmography yet, but
Yeah.
I have picked things out, and I'm a huge fan of all of them, and don't know why I haven't seen the others. But
Mm.
Dazed and Confused and Everybody Wants Some are some really awesome hangout movies.
Hmm.
The Before trilogy is also, I would consider a hangout movie, but it's more of
Oh
a
yeah.
two-hander hangout movie, and I love all three of those. The
Yeah, I
second
love
one
those.
in particular, the second one's I think just one of the most
Yeah.
perfect little stories.
Mm.
I think I've seen what's another one I've seen of
Have you
Linklater's.
seen
I've seen
his first one? That
Scanner
was
Darkly.
Oh yes, Scanner Darkly. That's an interesting movie. Really weird.
Yeah, I like anything with Philip K. Dick's story behind it.
True, true. Slacker, you seen that?
I saw Slacker, but so long ago that I wouldn't be
Oh,
able to talk on it.
I considered making Slacker a possible pick. So if it's been a while for you, maybe we'll do it sometime.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, like it's been a long time, like
Mm.
almost probably 15 years or
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Another fascinating like low budget movie.
And I've also seen School of Rock.
Yeah, he's done some like straightforward comedies that most like indie artsy movie makers you wouldn't think would be good at that, but he doesn't.
Yeah, and I remember seeing School of Rock as a kid in
Mm.
2003. I was 14 and I saw it, and like I was maybe a little bit too old to enjoy it, or
Oh.
too young to enjoy the fact that it was made by Richard Linklater.
Mm.
But I enjoyed it as a movie anyway, and I think that speaks to how good of a director he is.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one, but I like Jack Black, so maybe I'll see it sometime.
Bad News Bears, I don't remember. Like, did you see Bad News Bears with Billy Bob Thornton?
No, I didn't know that was him either.
Yeah, I didn't much like it, but I didn't like hate it.
I've seen like the old version of Bad News Bears. Right, that's a remake, right?
Yeah, it's a remake.
Yeah, I remember the old one. I confused the old one with Ladybugs or Meatballs. Those
The
those
old
movies
one
all
was
blend together.
Matthew was Martin Landau,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
Was
Okay.
that the original?
Yeah, yeah. Definitely. All right. Not definitely. I guess we both confused Walter Matthau and Martin Landau. It's Walter Matthau that was in it.
I haven't seen that,
Oh.
but I have seen the remake, and I thought it was fine. It
Hmm.
wasn't my thing. It was like kind of like a raunchy comedy, if I remember, at least a little bit. But I could be misremembering because I saw it, didn't like it, and then never watched it.
Yeah, Grandpa used to like to put on these like sports comedy movies So I've seen a lot of those as a little kid, but they all kind of blend together in my head.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
Ladybugs.
Oh, that was a bit of a tangent it ended up being.
I liked
But
it.
yeah, Linklater's one of those directors that can do a lot of different things. And like even having seen like him do low budget with Slacker and do, conversation based movies in the before trilogy, I feel like Tape was, different than I would have imagined it. He can really surprise you.
Yeah,
It's not somebody that like paints himself into a corner like stylistically.
yeah, I can see that. He definitely has some like things that he tends to
Yeah,
do. Like his movies are always really kind of
that's
dialogue
true.
heavy, especially his animated
Oh
ones.
yeah.
His animated ones are almost all just people talking at a
Yeah,
camera.
of those I've only seen Scanner Darkly. I haven't seen Waking Life yet.
And he has a newish one that I
Oh, I
also
didn't know
haven't
that.
seen. I think it's called Apollo 10
Huh.
and a half or Apollo 11 and a half. I
Yeah.
didn't see it, so I don't remember. But it came out maybe
I
2021.
recently watched his Last Flag Flying, and I like that a lot. But that's also a
Hmm.
hangout movie with lots of talking. So yeah, I guess he does have a calling card. But
I didn't see it. Who's
it's
in that movie?
Bryan Cranston, Steve Carell, and shoot,
Oh, that's with Lawrence Fishburne, right?
yes,
Is the
Lawrence
third guy
Fishburne's
in
the
that?
third guy.
I remember seeing trailers for that, but I have no idea what it's about.
That's on Prime. It ended up, I didn't know that it was a sequel to The Last Detail, but I looked it up afterwards, and it is a sequel to The Last Detail. You don't have to know
Oh,
that
okay.
movie before seeing it, but it is a good movie with Jack Nicholson. So, like, if you feel like watching two movies that are related, there you go. Last Detail, which is not a Linklater movie, it was made in the 70s, I think, and Last Flag Flying. They're written by the same guy, and they're very good, like, character-driven movies. The first one's about three military men. One of them gets in big trouble. The other two try to like hang out with him and take his mind off it and stuff. And the
Hmm.
and the sequel is them as older veterans trying to put away the past and stuff, make sense of their lives. Good stuff.
Yeah, Linklater also has a movie I'm interested in coming out this
Yeah,
year
Hitman.
with Glenn
Is that
Powell.
Hitman? Yeah,
Hitman.
I want to see
Yeah, I
that
think
too.
I'm gonna try to see that in theaters. And in a case of twin
Hmm.
movies, another auteur, the guy that did Fight Club,
Oh, begins with an F, I think. Fincher. Yeah.
Fincher, David Fincher. David Fincher has a movie starring Michael Fassbender coming out called The Killer,
Oh,
also centered around Hitman.
huh.
I think it'll be different, but because I think Glenn Powell plays a fake hitman in the
Well, like
Hitman.
Fincher does more like he's good with crime thrillers, and
Oh yeah,
like I
yeah. I'm gonna see that
don't
as well.
expect him to have a similar approach to Linklater, even though they're doing the same subject. I'm sure there'll be very different movies.
Yeah,
Is a Fincher movie
yeah.
on
I'm
the
looking forward
there's a
to it.
Fincher movie on the list that you rolled for that you got tape on. So maybe we'll do a Fincher
Oh,
movie
well, all right.
sometime.
Yeah,
Mindhunter is good if you haven't seen it yet. The series.
I have. Oh, the series.
Yeah, yeah.
Wasn't there a movie in that?
Manhunter?
Oh, I'm
Are you
thinking of
thinking of
something else.
Manhunter?
Yeah, I'm thinking
You've
of
seen that?
Manhunter. Yeah. Oh well,
Okay.
yeah, I've seen
Yeah, it's a good
Manhunter.
one. I didn't.
My bad, I
uh,
got them confused, like knee jerk
mm.
reaction.
Yeah, I'm a fan of like the sort of Hannibal universe.
Yeah, and like in the '80s, William Peterson was in like two of the greatest thrillers of the decade, and then just like went dormant until he was
What's
revived for
what's the
CSI,
other one?
To Live or Die in LA.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Okay, I should check that out.
Oh, it's William Friedkin, and it is Friedkin
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to embrace that tangent to bring you to a fun recommendation or something.
Yeah, yeah, we went on a little
Yeah,
we went on a little walk to
yeah.
get here, but hey, we got here.
So yeah, tape's a pretty simple concept. It makes sense that it'd be a shorter discussion.
Have you ever found yourself to have been taped or recorded without your knowledge?
No, I don't think so.
One time when I was like five, no, I was in like fifth
Hmm.
grade, not five. I was like, 10, 11, a little young. Someone called the house, one of my friends
Uh
at the
huh.
time, because we only had a house phone as one does in the
Uh huh.
90s. And I got to it just as the answering
Oh,
machine got
okay.
to it, and I had like a whole conversation that just got
Oh,
recorded on the
on
answering
yours or
machine
on the other person's?
and mine,
Okay.
our
Yeah,
home
yeah.
phone.
So like,
And so my
uh-huh.
mom or our mom had listened to like my whole
Oh boy.
conversation. It wasn't that
Okay.
bad. Like it was just like an interesting feeling of being like
Mm,
voyeured in
yeah.
on.
That reminds
Like
me
I
of
to have been recorded without my knowledge.
like when you're a kid and like you speak much looser with your friends and like you might be a little kid that's
Yeah,
cursing
that's
and
exactly it.
stuff, and then like it
Hmm.
turns
Oh,
out
exactly.
somebody,
Yeah, my mom heard
yeah,
me
like
curse.
your mom might be like behind a
Yeah.
door or something and be like, I can't believe I heard you talking like
Hmm.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, that was exactly what
yeah,
happened. Like it wasn't like I was like talking about something I regret
yeah.
doing or anything.
It's
It
just
was
a
just like
side
I
of
spoke
yourself.
to
You're
my
not.
friend with
Yeah,
swear words as a 10-year-old, and my mom was like, "What the
yeah.
hell?"
It's a side of yourself you weren't ready for your close family to see.
I'm still not ready for my mom to see that. I don't curse in front of mom
Well,
ever.
I think I do. I,
Yeah. I
yeah.
probably say like shit or like I'll quote
Mm,
things or sometimes I like to do
yeah.
characters. Sometimes the characters I do curse, but that's not me, mom.
Living with my now former mother and father-in-law, that's a household that just curses like sailors all the time. So I kind of just
Mhm.
lost my filter a lot.
Yeah, I can get that.
But I mean, I don't curse a whole lot generally.
Yeah, most people who like kind of know me talk about me as if I talk like I'm in
Oh,
church or
really?
something. Like I don't swear a lot in professional settings or to
Hmm.
strangers, but I do like I think curses are
Hmm.
funny. So I'm still very much a high
Uh,
schooler. I think swearing is funny and I will
uh,
jokingly curse all the time. But I don't I have like a dirty mouth
mm.
sometimes, but it's only for the sake of humor, and I normally don't talk
Mm.
that way.
I don't always think cursing is funny. I guess it depends on who does it. Depends on the situation.
I like it when a relatively clean sitcom will throw in a
Mm.
beep. Like they'll write a curse word into the script
Yeah.
and bleep it out. Like Parks and Rec has like 3 or 4 bleeps
Mm.
in the whole show, and it's just like when that happens, you're like, no,
Yeah. But it's
you know,
because
I
it's
don't
sparing,
like
because it's
normally.
used sparingly. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah. Like maybe your first episode of Always Sunny, you might laugh at the cursing, but after like a whole season, you kind of get numb to it.
Yeah,
All right, that was
yeah, it blends into the scenery.
that was another tangent, but these tangents are fun.
Yeah, that was like pretty much one of the only things I had written down was have you ever been
Oh, yeah.
recorded without your knowledge? The movie, yeah, I loved the
Yeah.
movie. I didn't have a lot of follow up besides the fact that like I really appreciated you showing me it because I like movies that are
Mm.
different than normal fare.
You ever like met up with an old high school friend and like you're still acting like you're good friends with them, but over the years you realize you've become people that don't really have anything in common. You know what I mean? Like people that you think of as friends from high school, and
Yeah,
then you meet up with
kind
them,
of.
and you're like, I don't feel like I can just hang out with this person anymore.
Honestly, I had kind of an opposite
Oh yeah?
experience, and I can share that.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, we were kind of like sort of friends with this
Mm-hmm.
dude, AJ.
Okay.
And like I went to elementary school with him, so
Mm.
did Ryan. And we knew him pretty well. He just was never a friend. And then we got to like senior year and we had Spanish together or something. We started talking a
Mm.
little more senior year and he ended up going camping
Uh-huh.
with us. When because we always did a yearly camping trip, I think you might
Mm.
remember. So like on this yearly camping trip, he went with us. We had like a really good time with him. We did not keep in touch. So throughout all of high school, we didn't really talk to the guy. We went camping with him senior year, and then I continued to not
Uh-huh.
talk to the guy. About like 5 years ago, which would be 10 years outside of high school, De Blasi like ran into
Uh-huh.
him at the mall or something when we were planning on going
Okay.
camping and was like, "Oh, we're going camping. If you have, 5 days free, come camping with us." And sure enough, he came
Uh-huh.
with us, and we ended up having again just like a great
Uh-huh.
time. And then I never talked to
Oh.
him again.
Oh, I was expecting that story
So it's like kind
to
of the opposite. He's
I was
just
expecting that story to end with you
this
guys
like
best friends.
No, he's just this acquaintance that we all get along with really
Uh,
well, and he just never became part of the friend group. He did end up getting
mm.
arrested that camping
I
trip,
definitely
though.
have people that were like, they were the outside of the circle of friends that would hang out at a certain house. And like, I still am friendly with them when I run into them, but I've never like hung out with them outside of that house. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
tons of that. I used to hang out in the punk house, and
Yeah.
like I had like three friends in the
Uh,
punk house, and then I was kind of like buddies with the 100 other people that would
uh,
hang out at that punk house. But I've never like kept
yeah.
in touch with anyone but the three friends that
Mm,
I had there. Yeah, we had like one of our friends like in the band Awful
mm,
Waffle had like I think his affluent family
mm.
moved, and instead of selling the house, just rented it out to the lead singer and the rest of the
Okay.
band and like three other guys, and they just turned like every room into a
Uh-huh.
bedroom and paid for it that way.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. The Thunderdome.
Yeah.
There was a riot there once.
Oh no.
That's what happens. It's what you do when you're at a
Yeah, I
punk
guess it's
house.
too many people in a close place.
You take things to the next level.
Mm.
We used to play it instead of a drinking
Uh-huh.
game. It was a pot smoking
Uh-huh.
game called Rodney
Okay.
Dangerfield. A Uno, but the objective of the game is to get your entire phone number, including the area code, in your hands.
What?
So you just kind of play until everyone gives up.
Oh, I don't get it. How do you get the phone number in?
You collect cards instead of give them
Oh, you're
away,
trying to put together a
and you
phone
have to
number.
get your whole phone
Your phone
number.
number?
Yeah, you have to have your whole phone number in your
Okay.
hand.
Where does the pot smoking come in?
You know, like if you have to draw a card
Oh, okay.
or
Okay.
anything, like if you get reversed on,
Yeah.
if you get a draw card, if you get stuff
Oh,
like that,
okay.
skip.
Huh.
It was fun. I'd do it again, but like they're really like the rules are kind of
Yeah, I
tertiary
guess so.
because you just kind of play until everybody gives
Mm.
up because it's almost impossible to get your phone number in your
Yeah.
hands in Uno because it's a nine
Mm.
number
Even
or 10 numbers,
in my
whatever, with your
in my
area
hard
code.
drinking days, like my 20s, I was never into drinking games. I just wanted to drink at my own pace, you know? Like if we tried to play a
Yeah, I
drinking game,
enjoyed beer
I'd still
pong.
be sipping during, and it would just get me too drunk.
Yeah, like we would play beer pong with water
Uh,
though, because like you don't want to put a ping pong ball you pick up on the ground into a cup and then drink the liquid in the cup. That's gross. So we would just kind of play holding it. And nothing to do with tape.
Anything left to say about tape or Linklater or anything like that?
Yeah, I had never even heard of this
Mm,
movie, let alone seen
yeah.
it. So I'm very glad that you chose it.
Mm. Yeah, I saw when I first got Criterion Channel, they had like a Linklater Focus that was like had 1 month left. So I saw tape and maybe one
Mhm.
other movie, and then like it went away. All the movies came off of Criterion, but like
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's.
the YouTube one
Mhm.
is actually not bad. Like there's two uploads on there. One is split into multiple parts. Don't watch that one. The other one, there's some parts where I wish the sound quality was better, but it looks
Mhm.
fine, even like full screen. But I was watching on the phone. It might not look great on a big computer monitor. Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, it is kind of not important.
Mm.
Like the movie isn't trying to look high quality.
Exactly. Yeah. And that kind of gives it like you're watching something that maybe you weren't supposed to watch kind of feeling. Like it gives you an extra thrill.
Yeah.
Like you're watching
Hmm.
Cops or something.
Yeah, yeah, like you're on the outside looking
Yeah.
in.
Feels voyeuristic.
Hmm.
Yeah, we got one extra thing about tape in. There we go.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I'm hoping that this movie at some point like gets another like home release thing. It's in danger of becoming out of print.
Yeah, honestly, like Criterion should just throw it on us as a special feature on another movie or
Yeah, maybe
something.
that.
Like, it doesn't need a lot of bandwidth to be
True.
effective. Like, it could be housed as an extra on a Blu-ray without losing
Yeah.
quality.
Criterion, get on that.
Not that it doesn't deserve its own release. It was a very
Mm.
good movie. I
You ever
enjoyed it.
sent Criterion an email asking them to put out something that's out of print?
No, I haven't.
I have.
I have emailed them
Yeah.
before, but it was for different things. I think they just release whatever they can get the rights to.
Yeah.
Like rights are a very
Yeah,
fickle thing. Like
the page that I got the email from basically said not to expect a response. It said like we monitor this email
Gotcha.
address and we'll take your suggestions into consideration, but we generally do not take the time to respond to emails.
the Russ Meyer estate is like not quick to hand out licensing to release his movies. Like, as far as I know, the only one of his movies that has a Blu-ray release is Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. And, like, it's been said by a lot of people that it is the estate that is just, like, holding on to these rights, and they don't really want anything to do with them.
Do you have, like, broad opinion about copyright being so long and going on past the original holder's death?
I think IP should belong exclusively to the artist who creates it. It shouldn't be something like bought and traded like a commodity. But I am not. I don't know. I'm not a capitalist, so.
That's true. Yeah, we're two pinkos discussing the buying and selling of securities.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we go on to the next movie then?
Yeah, so the next movie is my pick, and I have chosen the 1966 spaghetti western classic Django by Sergio Corbucci.
Django.
I would recommend to first-time viewers to watch the Italian soundtrack, although normally when watching a spaghetti western or Italian movie, I'll choose to watch the English dub because I feel like it's part of the experience. I feel like in Italian cinema, they never record audio live. It's always dubbed in anyway, so I feel like watching it in English is part of the experience. However, I find the Italian voice actors of Django to be much better, to give a better performance. So if that's English, you're going to get the movie and it's going to be good, but the translation's not as good and the English voice actors don't give as much heart as the Italian ones do.
I would say I had done that. I only watched the English version.
I watched the Italian version for the first time recently.
Okay.
That's okay. You're going to get the same story.
One last note from editing Michael. As of me finishing this episode, Django is available on Arrow, Fandor, Peacock, Plex, Vudu, and Pluto. You have plenty of options.